Okay, so we're here with Sidnee Peck from Zero Mass Water. Just ran into Tom, who's kindly on the camera. Tom and I had spoke over the course of the last few months while I was out scouring the planet for all the coolest stuff that's related to the new energy economy, renewable energy tech. Of course, you guys are creating potable water with zero mass, which is, by the way, is almost like a buzzword, out in the industry these days. So thank you so much for talking to us.
Of course, thanks for being here.
My pleasure. So now I understand you got a bit of a footprint in Hawaii right now. We just talked about Dawn, Elemental Accelerator, all that great stuff. Why don't we, for people who are just getting into it right now, why don't we introduce the technology, what it is you do, the new things you're offering, give us a sense for it.
Of course. So we are Zero Mass Water, and we sell the Source Hydro Panel, which was invented by our founder and CEO, Dr. Cody Friesen, after getting his material science PhD at MIT, was recruited back to Arizona, one of the driest places on Earth, to tackle some big problems. And one of those problems that he tackled is water. And so what we are doing is working to perfect water for every person, every place. And we do that through a technology that is completely infrastructure free, which means you don't need any water input, you don't need any energy input. In fact, you can take one of these suckers, put them out in your driveway. As soon as the sun shines, you're making water. And we do that by using a little bit of PV that powers some fans, pulls the air into the system. It's heated with solar thermal. As it cools to ambient temperature, it turns into liquid water. Now, the secret is the beautiful material that's inside the panel. It's a hygroscopic material that grabs just the water molecule. So essentially what you end up with is pure distilled water. This water has never been in pipes, it's never been in the ground, so you don't have to worry about a lot of the contamination that we're facing right now. And we mineralize it so that it tastes lovely and that it's safe for you. And then we ozonate it. So you leave it in there, you go out of town for a week, you know that your water is always safe. And then the most important piece that we love is that this is digital water. Every single panel has a SIM card. And that SIM card is monitoring hundreds of elements of the panel. We know what the temperature is, what the solar irradiance is, the relative humidity. We know that your ozonation system is working. We know everything about your water. So for the very first time, you know that you always have quality water, which you cannot know about any other water source that you get.
There is so much in there. My mind is like trying to log like 20 different comments that I have from what she just said. So I mean, it smacks of the way that our world is changing, and that we're able to allow technology's helping us find ways to take something that we've always had in our lives, water, and then make it better. Get better transparency into the quality of that water. Like you just said, we're moving, all of the water we're drinking is moving around, whether it's in a plastic bottle, God forbid, or whether it's coming through a pipe, or whether it's coming through the earth, and we really don't have transparency as to what is happening there. We can hope for the best. And then, so there's so much there in terms of quality, in terms of transparency, visibility, and this echoes what we see in the whole new energy economy. We see it in, our transportation, our food, we see it in our energy, we see it in all these wonderful things, so thank you.
Yeah, and where we're seeing a lot of other renewable options, right? You see a lot of new products that are coming. Renewable energy was, the godfather of it all, but you see in like clothing and food and all these renewable products, but we didn't have renewable water. People might think of water as renewable because we see it rain and we think, oh, beautiful, water's coming back. But actually, we're draining the water table faster than it's being replenished. And when you capture rainwater or use one of these other technologies, you're using a lot of energy. So it's not truly a renewable resource. With Source, the water in the air is constantly being renewed. So it is the only truly renewable cycle of water. And we're not using additional energy because we're using just the power of the sun to make it happen.
Wow, there's so much going on there. It's really remarkable to think about the fact that you said infrastructure free. It was a very cool term to say off-grid, right? Like you don't need to hook into another system. You're not pulling energy out of your PV system you just mentioned. I myself, I get my water from a brand new catchment system that was built in 2019. I've lived on catchment before, so I know what it's like to be worried about your water supply. But this is really interesting because there's no energy being used, you're not relying on the rain, and you have potable, drinkable water that is also not only ozonated, but you mentioned mineralized, which I thought, I came in here and I said, hey, should I be mineralizing my water out of my catchment system?
I mean, I'm not a doctor, so I can't advise the appropriate pH level for your water, but even from a taste standpoint, this is not only the safest water you can get and the least impact on the environment and actually renewable and sustainable, but also this is the highest quality water. So this is really a luxury water. This is Voss or Fiji or one of those, fancy waters, but that you make it yourself and you don't have to feel guilty about having it shipped across the ocean or in a container that may or may not be recycled or all those fun things. So it's really the best water in the best way.
It's kind of like the real promise that bottled water and all these kind of like exotic waters gave us 10 years ago or 15 years ago, and hey, we'll drink this amazing stuff out of this place. But in actuality, really dirty. I mean, when you're moving stuff, shipping, a ship from point A to point B, maritime is one of the nastiest GHG emitters of any sector, right? So you're moving water around and then you're bottling it, and who knows if you're leaching plastic, and you eliminate all that stuff, and you get this really, pristine quality water like you just described. It's kind of a first time for humanity, if I can use that grand term.
I mean, we believe this is the first time we're able to do this. It's the only product available to have a truly infrastructure-free way to get water that is non-extractive. It doesn't impact any other system. And at the same time, you get that quality that you think of in, a fancy Parisian cafe. This is the kind of water you would be drinking, right? And you have no guilt. And actually, of no fault of any other water provider, right? Municipalities do the best that they can, but they're still putting water through pipes, and they have to put chlorine in it to make sure it's safe. Your catchment, whoever made your beautiful catchment system, is doing the best that they can with the technology that they have, but you still have to use energy to clean that water. Bottled water companies in the beginning were doing it. This was the only way, it still is in a lot of places, to have reliable, safe water where people aren't going to get sick. People are doing the best that they can with water because they didn't have any other options. And now we're really excited that we can be that new, latest technology that offers the true option to truly solve the water problem.
Okay, fantastic. I'm a believer. I want to explore two areas, if I may. So one is, if I want to, as an individual, and I understand you have a new product this year, which may be relevant to residential installations. If I want to pursue that, how would I go about doing it? And what are the financial what's the financial overview of something like that? To me, as a solar guy, I've been an installer for a decade. I'm kind of out of that business now. I think in tax credits, I think in ROIs, I think in cash flows, right? So there's also a value proposition. We did a great job of articulating that, really high quality new value that's presented in the water. So there's that one area I want to explore. And then there's the, what does this mean for the world area I want to explore. So you can choose which one you want to go for.
Yeah, so the new product that we're announcing at CES is our Rexy product, which is a smaller footprint to make the same amount of water. What that means for a residential homeowner is, space is important, right? Especially if you're somebody who wants to do solar and hydro panels, right? You want off-grid power and water. We now have a smaller footprint, easier install, lighter to ship, all the things that you would want to get something to you, get it up on your roof and have it functioning, we're doing with our new product.
What's the size?
3.5 by 5.
That is the size of a solar panel.
That's the footprint. Yeah, today we're at a 4 by 8, and so we've come significantly down.
By 5, that's actually a little smaller than a solar panel.
Yeah, so our 3.5 by 5 Rexy guy goes for $2,500. This is a product that lasts 15 years, and so when you do the math, again, I will say this is dependent on your climate. So sunshine and relative humidity vary throughout the world, so it's not exact math, but roughly, let's call it 15 cents a liter is what you're looking at if you choose to buy these panels for yourself for your home. If you're buying bottled water, you're definitely paying more than 15 cents a liter, and if you're having to use expensive filters, it has an ROI for you.
Got it. I see the math on that. I'll start to crunch some numbers after the fact. I love it. So let me ask you this: we have a $2,500 price point on this? What did you call it again?
Rexy.
The Rexy product, which is 3.5 by 5. Roughly the footprint of a 60-cell module. I can find space on my roof right now. I left a couple spaces, next to my solar hot water, next to my PV. So if I wanted to put that in, there's going to be an installation charge. That's in addition to the 25, right?
Yeah, and so we partner with installation partners all around the world to do that at an affordable rate locally for you.
I know that neither of us are probably CPAs, but do you have any guidance on tax credit applicability?
So My disclaimer, I am not a CPA. I cannot advise you on how to...
Nor am I.
Yes, okay, this is legal disclaimer. We've been advised that about 35% of the panel can be categorized as solar, is related to solar, and so that's what people have claimed.
You're going to be looking for a guidance letter from the IRS soon.
Indeed. We're hoping that tax law will catch up with the water.
Right. I mean, this provides some really interesting... Okay, so that's our residential question. Now, what about the larger picture for the world? Where do you see this going in the next few years, 5 years, 10 years? What do you think?
So that's the residential snapshot, which is important, but it's a small snapshot compared to what we can do across the world. On the other end, the commercial side of our business is what we call source fields. You've seen a solar array. Imagine thousands and thousands of source hydro panels installed that are making mega amounts of water that can be used for municipalities, they can be used for consumer brands. Everything we wear, buy, consume has water that goes into it, and that water is often taken from the water table in a local community. So this is a way to offset that. Hospitality, hotels, restaurants, anywhere where water is an input, we can install a large source field, and then we sell to you water by the liter. We own and manage the asset.
Oh, it's like a PPA model.
It's a WPA.
A WPA. I love it. That's so amazing. Okay, very cool. Well, one quick question. Is this an aggregate of the residential product, or are there a larger scope commercial product?
So that we'll use the larger panels for the source fields.
Amazing. Could talk to you for hours, but we got a lot of tech to cover. So I want to thank you so much, Sidnee Peck from Zero Mass Water. Tom for holding the camera and keeping up with us. Thank you, Tom. And yeah, good luck. And please come to Maui and join us in the studio.
Absolutely. We'll see you in Maui.
All right. Aloha.
Aloha.